Hi everybody, and welcome back to Needs More Jazzhands, the watch party or the viewing show or whatever I have it called by the time you're watching it. So today we are going to be watching the Flash episode Duet, which is the musical crossover between Flash and Supergirl with some characters from other shows because they're good singers and why not include them. So this is episode 17 of season 3 of The Flash. It also ties in with, I believe, season 2 of Supergirl. But the Supergirl elements are kind of periphery. So first I'm going to catch you up on what's going on with the characters, why we're having this episode, etc., etc. And then we will get into watching the episode itself. So, starting off with why do we have a musical episode? Well, I would love to say that we have a musical episode because it makes sense for the characters and it's an important thing to happen. And I don't think they necessarily do a bad job, but still. Why it's really happening is because, let's see, Supergirl is played by Marley Rose. Well, that's the character name. What is her name? Melissa Benoist and Grant Gustin. Okay. So the first thing that I am going to do is go over why we have a musical episode, and then we'll go through where the characters are at this point in their shows, and then we'll turn to actually watching the show. So starting off with why are we having a musical episode? Well, I would like to say it's because it fits into what's going on in the show and, you know, it'd be useful, which it kind of is, but we'll get into that later. The real reason is because Supergirl is played by Melissa Benoist, otherwise known as Marley Rose on Glee, and Grant Gustin was also on Glee as Sebastian Smythe. And let's see, who else do we have? We have John Barrowman, who sings. We have... Oh my god, I am blanking on the names. Give me 1 second. I'm a terrible person. Oh my god. Okay, we have Jesse L. Martin, who plays Iris's dad, and he is amazing. And we also have the incomparable Victor Garber. And when you have a cast like that, you know, why not have a musical episode? You have amazing people. They've talked at many cons about the fact that Grant Gustin would just start randomly going into tap dancing in between shoots. So clearly they had a musical cast on both shows, kind of, and decided that they were going to do something with it. So that's why we have it. Let's look a little bit more into where the characters are. So season 2 for Supergirl, we are dealing with the Daxamites. So Kara is dealing with Mon-El of Daxam, and has just found out that he was lying to her about something really important, about who he was and what that might mean for their relationship and for the state of relationships with other Daxamites. And so they've broken up, but they really cared about each other, or at least that's what the show tells us. Shipping wars may disagree with that. Anyway, so that's where we are with that show. Kara is she's feeling very heartbroken, she's feeling very disconnected from the person who she really was starting to care about. But again, this is a fairly early relationship for her. Alternatively, we have Iris and Barry, really some significant couple on The Flash. So season 1 they weren't together, but Barry has been in love with Iris since he was about 6. We're now in season 3 of the show, so they've been together for a long time. Season 3 of The Flash, our big villain is Savitar, who is targeting Iris. They know that Iris is going to die in the future, and Barry keeps trying to do things to stop that from happening. One of which is proposing to Iris, not because he loves her, and not because he wants to get married, but because in the vision they saw of her dying, she wasn't wearing a wedding ring. And therefore, if she's wearing a wedding ring, or an engagement ring, maybe that won't happen. And Long story short, Iris isn't really cool with the way that he is completely disregarding their actual lives because he's scared of this vision of the future, plus a million other stressors, but that's kind of the important stuff. So that brings us to this episode. On the Supergirl episode, which aired right before this, at the end of the episode, Supergirl randomly collapses and they don't know what to do, and thus we turn to the Flash episode. Commentary as we go. Let's get started.
This?
Moderately important. So we find out that when our characters, Kara and Barry, when we find out that when they're sad or when they want to feel connected, they listen to musicals. Or watch musicals. So we see Kara really loving The Wizard of Oz, and this episode starts with Barry watching Singing in the Rain. I did not watch Singing in the Rain. I know I'm a terrible musical lover until a couple of months ago. And let me just tell you, it's such a convoluted story. It is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, but I love it anyway, and it's amazing. And we're just gonna accept that that's true. But that really impacts how they connect to this. It shows that musicals are part of who they are and how they cope with things. So this does tie in with what our characters like and believe and care about.
Again?
Okay. I absolutely love that there's a moment in any musical episode, or at least a musical episode where magic made them do it, where people have to go, wait, what's going on? And make a decision. And either they're going to be singing out of their own control, or they're going to choose to sing. And it's implied that they choose to sing in Flash the Duet. And I love that Barry gets there and he's all confused, like what's going on here, which is cool. And Kara's just like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna sing Moon River here in this fancy nightclub with my fancy hair. And oh look, Barry's here, but I'm not gonna stop singing because I'm dedicated to my craft. Like, I just love that she's just like, we're going with it and there's no stopping it, and it's great. Also, she sounds really great, but I love that Kara's just down for it. She's like, you know what? Life has been crazy. I will be in a musical. That's fine. I know that changes a little bit down the way. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I just love that in the moment, she's like, you know what? Why not?
Barry?
Hey!
When?
Oh my god, I was listing off the amazing cast members that can sing, and I totally forgot a few. Jeremy Jordan, my favorite musical of all time is The Last 5 Years, which I desperately hate the musical adaptation of, but I really like Jeremy Jordan in it. I just, don't think Anna Kendrick should play the role of Kathy, and that's a whole other rant. But anyway, Jeremy Jordan, who has done some questionable things, but sings really well. And the incomparable Carlos Valdez, who I totally forgot was in this episode. And then I didn't mention him yet because he's the villain, but Darren Criss, who was also on Glee with both of them, who I know and really appreciate from his Star Kid days. So really packed cast, just amazing, amazing singers. Anyway. Okay, so I'm always big on why are we in a musical, like what's going on in the story. Our answer is it's our villain. The one kind of nitpicky, but kind of not problem that I have with this. So he explains to us, I just put you in a world of your own creation and it happened to be a musical because you two love musicals and they're important to you. And that's great. Except this character is literally called the Music Meister. So I'm not entirely sure I believe that, like, they could have ended up in somewhere that wasn't a musical. But, we're gonna go with that. It's fine. Okay. So I just talked a little bit about the fact that Kara's just immediately like, oh, sure, I guess I'll sing. Like, why not? I love that they do show the villain wants you to sing, so they do try to resist. But as they're doing the breakout number, Put a Little Love in Your Heart, which is so much fun. It sounds so great. I love that you can see, like, Barry, like, trying to master the dance moves. He's like, I'm not going to take part in this. I will stand strong against villainy. But, like, man, that's kind of a cool, like, move. How do I do it? Like, they're clearly being seduced by the musical-ness of it, which I love. Having these characters who love musicals really has that element to draw it in. It's such a great cast for it. They got such good numbers here. I love it. It's got just fantastic energy at this point in it. And I do really love the tension of you can get out if you follow the script. If you die, you die. It adds stakes to it. It gives us a concrete goal to move towards. We know who our villain is. There's no question of, well, what are we looking to find here, like we were doing with the Buffy musical? We know exactly who it is. We know what he wants. We know how to stop him. Now it's just a matter of getting there. And so that gives us a much clearer path where the audience doesn't have to be asking questions. We can just, enjoy the insanity. So I love that. Okay, I just want to ramble about some of the detail work that I think is actually, like, just fantastic here. So number one, I love that the big number, once they're kind of inside the universe and know what's going on, is Put a Little Love in Their Heart, because obviously this entire episode is about Kara and Barry's relationships failing and them trying to find their way back to their loves. So I just love that. I love, there's a great line, or set of lines, between Barry and Kara. I miss being bulletproof. Later on, everything is so easy when I'm running or flying. They use their powers as escapes. So being in this world where, number one, their emotions are brought to the surface, they have to deal with emotional problems out loud. And number two, that they don't have those powers to hide behind is just so fantastic. It forces them to deal with their issues. The plot of the musical is going to force them to really confront their issues and work through it in a way that they couldn't do in real life. It does what a musical episode is supposed to do. It really brings those things forward and makes our characters deal with them. So I love that. A little weird that it has to be done in another universe. Normally musical numbers kind of stay in their own world instead of going into parallel dream dimensionville ? But I think it works because we've got the setup of they need to do it in order to stop the villain from taking over Central City. So showing the two worlds gives them more reason to follow the plot, whereas otherwise they might decide just not to participate because it gets too emotionally difficult. So I like that they have those two streams going on.
This is where we can find out.
I'm glad we haven't seen anybody that looks like Mon-El, Kara says. Immediately a sound that they have to follow shows them someone who looks like Mon-El. It's just, I love when things fall together that easily. Really makes the transitions flow a little better. That's my my video editing geek coming out.
What the hell?
I just need to quickly say, I am really enjoying this, but I didn't like it the first time I watched it. This is at least my fourth time watching it. So maybe it's something that it's just grown on me and I overlook the little annoyances and really just cling on to it. But it's just a lot of fun. I mean, I love musicals. Obviously, I wouldn't be running this show if I didn't love musicals. Obviously, I enjoy watching the show in general. But I love the sheer chaos energy of the Music Meister in this. I mean, number one, sending them into a musical. Great. There's a whole thing I love going on there. But I love that he gains the powers of the fastest man on Earth and a Kryptonian, and he's like, let's go to a bank. Let's go fly around. Let's go fight these bad guys. We're just gonna have a wild, crazy time here. And as we'll find out later, more or less he's doing it for good reasons. So he's just kind of like what seems like fun to do with these powers, but doesn't hurt anybody, because that's the key thing. Nobody actually gets hurt here. I mean, permanently at least. So I love just the chaos energy. There's so much energy. Love it. But again, I didn't love it the first time through, so maybe this is an acquired taste. Let's see. Lesson number 1. We see Barry have to explain that even though there might be bad things that come in the future, it's worth it to be with the one that you love for as long as you can be with the one that you love. Which immediately ties back to him and Iris breaking up out of fear and stress caused by the fear of Iris dying in the future. Lesson has already been stated, but will be learned a little bit more as we go forward. Also, I love the... With a show like this, a problem can last a whole season, and of course in a movie musical it's over so quick, or at least small little chaotic moments are over so quick. So having him state something that's really easy that he's been fighting with for, at least 10 episodes of this show, and them to immediately say, oh yeah, you're totally right, is just... It's a great conflict of the two genres, showing how they don't line up and how real life doesn't line up with the genre of the movie musical, and I love it, and I love it. Okay. Here's the thing. I love that they have Jesse L. Martin's character and Victor Garber's character be, I don't know. We're gonna try that again. Okay, so here's the thing. I love that they have Victor Garber and Jesse L. Martin's characters be together. I love to see them loving their daughter so much together. I love all of it. I don't love Barry saying, oh yeah, I don't have a problem with gay people. I watch musicals. As though that's somehow mutually exclusive, as though that's not playing into stereotypes. They give him a weird look for it, but I don't love that that's a line that our hero gives out. But that's just me.
Why he didn't tell you?
I love that even though Kara and Barry are kind of side characters in the movie musical, their messages are being sent so clearly through the conflict of this. I already talked about Barry's, but it's reiterated when the parents are telling their kids they can't be in love. You know, if you find a love like this, you have to fight for it, you have to hold on to it no matter what. And I love seeing Kara, and she realizes it, and that's what's so great. She realizes it as she's saying it. Sometimes people don't tell you things for a reason. Sometimes you need to open up and listen to them. Now, I don't personally love Mon-El, especially in season 2. He gets better later on. I don't like that he lied to her. I have more problems with the fact that he's very misogynistic in this season, but whatever. But I like that she comes to realizations of her own hypocrisy, which is really something that Kara struggles with. She gets so far into her moral self-righteousness that she's really, really bad at admitting she's wrong. So having her tell somebody else that they're wrong, which is something she's much more willing to do, is a really good way of having her tell herself what she's doing wrong. So I love when they do that. I love that even though the central conflict of the movie musical is not about them, they are learning from it and they're getting really, really critical character lessons from it. So absolutely love it.
Thanks for telling us the truth, baby.
I love you both.
More I Cannot Wish You is so well sung in this, and Victor Garber's voice is just, I mean, it's the voice of the angels. There's really no other way to put it. And just, the other two are both amazing. I have a particular fondness for Victor Garber. I don't love when the three of them all sing together. I've got to say, Jesse L. Martin and Victor Garber, their voices harmonize so well, and John Barrowman's feels really not merging well with theirs. It's very discordant in the way that it comes together. So the solos, and then when the two of them are harmonizing, it's really great. I don't love when they're all three going at the same time, but it's so beautiful. It's such a moment where, like, your heart is so warm, and then, of course, immediately after, it's time for war. So I love... Can you tell I like this? Again, I really hated this the first time I watched it, so I'm not sure what has changed, but I really enjoy it. I really, really love the Music Meister in this portrayal. He is having the best time. You can tell that Darren Criss is really just enjoying himself. And he gives them all the answers. He tells Kara and Barry what to do. He tells Iris and Mon-El what to do. He has no reason to extend this, as he said in the beginning. What I'm looking to do here is to teach a lesson, and that's what he does. And I actually really appreciate the straightforwardness of it, because it means we're not caught up in the convolutedness of trying to figure out what he wants. He's told us everything. We don't have to worry about that at all. It just all ties together really, really well. So... Okay, Super Friend is such a fun number. It's dumb. It's so dumb. The lyrics are silly and ridiculous, but that's what we need right now. We've had all of these really nice heartfelt, like, ballady songs. We needed kind of a more upbeat number at this point in the musical. It's really cementing their bond, which is why it was really annoying that they haven't really emphasized the Supergirl Flash friendship much more after this episode, because it really cemented it. But I guess the end of the show kind of does that. I love it. It's great. It's very fun to watch. I have two problems, and I know I'm nitpicking. I'm totally nitpicking. But here's my two problems. So the first one is, they're singing about having superpowers to a crowd of a nightclub in the 50s, we're gonna guess. What is this crowd thinking? Like, this is a crowd that really appreciated Moon River earlier. This number makes no sense. It's not the kind of thing that they would enjoy. It's not a thing that makes any sense to them. But anyway, my bigger problem. We had this beautiful tap number between the two of them backstage. Cool. Great. And then it transitioned on stage, which is a really good way to transition from rehearsal to the final product. My problem is, in the final product, Kara is wearing a full-length dress. That's not really compatible to the tap number. It was doing a really big deal with the camera movements to show her legs moving and to show her feet tapping when we were backstage. So we're missing a lot of that if we're assuming that the whole thing has been performed again with full-length clothes. Also, and this is very nitpicky, they run straight out from the theater to where the war between the two groups are happening. And they get shot, and at that point we see their feet, and neither of them have the tap bottoms on their feet. And I'm not saying that's important. I'm just saying, if you're going to specifically put a tap number in, having them wear different shoes that don't have the tap soles is really weird. I mean, it would be annoying to walk around with the tapping the whole time, so I can get that, and her shoes match the dress. That makes no sense with the fact that... Anyway, that's me being nitpicky, but I really enjoy the song. It's really fun. It's really stupid, but it's really fun. But they're little continuity points that just really don't click to me. But it's fine. Okay, another nitpicky thing. I mean, I don't know that it's that nitpicky. It's just, okay, so they were saved by the power of true love. They were dying, they got kissed by their respective love interests, and that saved them. Cool. Power of true love, totally a thing that makes sense within this genre that we're playing with. But, again, we have Iris and Barry, who are an iconic comic book couple, who have been together for 2 years in the show, who have been friends at least, if not family, if not crushes, for most of their lives, who know each other so well, who were engaged, who love each other. And then we have Kara and Mon-El, and even if you're a die-hard Caramel fan, or Caramel, I don't know how people say them, I just read it online, even if you absolutely support them, at this point, they've known each other a couple of months. Well, I guess they said 9 months. They've known each other 9 months, so I'll give them that much. She hated him for at least the first several months. He lied to her for all 9 months. So all I'm saying here is, I don't think the two loves are comparable, and I don't love that they're setting them up to be that way. Also, spoilers, Iris and Barry are still together in, season 7, I think we're at now. And Kara and Mon-El are not. And there are many reasons for that have to do with, poisoning the air with lead and, time travel and such. But what that tells me is there's a difference in the depth of these loves, and I'm not totally buying that they're both true love. I mean, they don't call it true love, but I feel like if you have somebody say I love you and then kiss, and then there's a bright flashy light and it saves people's lives, we can pretty much assume that that's what this is supposed to be. And I'm not really buying it. So, sorry.
They're back!
Again, I'm just going to go back to this. I love this version of the Music Meister. I love that he is chaotic good, or maybe chaotic neutral. He's insane, but he's not actually trying to hurt anybody. He has set this whole thing up to help. When it did his job, he left, and he's going to go do this for somebody else. I love his motivation. I love how fun he is the whole time around. I love that in Glee, we saw Grant Gustin be a bad guy and Darren Criss be a good guy. I liked seeing that switched. I mean, if we're calling Music Meister the villain, which he technically is considered to be. I love that, canonically speaking, Kryptonians, their biggest susceptibility is to magic. And so having magic be the way that we do this, and we see this with Mr. Mxyzptlk as well. Seeing these reality-bending figures that are just so much fun to play with as the people who could have the ability to do this. And that's been shown through comics and through multiple iterations of TV versions. I really love how well thought out this character was, and it really sets up, this completely makes sense. I mean, it works for the characters and it's a good writing tool, but it also makes total sense. Our monster of the week, if that's what we want to call it, makes sense, is fun. I'm all about him. He's great. I'm kind of down for the forgive, don't forget of Kara's, I forgive you, we're going to be great, don't lie to me again. We're not playing this game again. I will drop a mountain on you. And I actually am really down for that. I don't think she really follows through on that, as we see later on in the show. But I do like that, as much as the lesson is, sometimes people have reasons for what they're doing, and we really need to be open to hearing out those reasons and be open to forgiveness, we're not necessarily needing to be open to repeatedly get taken advantage of. And I appreciate that that's included there.
We'll see.
Okay. Episode's over. I'm going to ramble a little bit about the last song, Runnin' Home to You, and then I will finish us off for this episode. Hope you liked my Cookie Monster pajama pants and my Doctor Who shirt. Anyway, so Runnin' Home to You, I love. It's such a sweet song. I love that it's in the real world, so this is just clearly Barry opening himself up actively. So all of the other things we see these forced lessons. That's the point. But this is him openly coming to her saying, this is my heart and the way I want to share it with you. And I love that. I really like the song. I actually downloaded the song on my phone a couple of months ago, so I just listened to this as a song that I enjoy. And I love that, again, spoiler alert, but I don't know why you're watching this if you're not willing to be spoiled. I like that next year when we see their wedding, we see Kara singing the song that he wrote thanks to all of this to them as they, go down the aisle to get married. I love that it ties together so much. I love that that song is consistently put through the show later, that it does further cement Kara and Barry's relationship, that her singing gets brought up again. I love that. Again, nitpicking. There's things that I can accept in the world of the musical. I can nitpick about how the change of clothes doesn't make sense with the tap solo, and I think that's a valid criticism, but it's kind of a stupid one. But in the world of the movie musical, things don't have to make sense. I'm fine with that. Now that we're back in the real world, though, when did Barry write this song? I mean, he just, presumably, they went from Star Labs straight home. Iris was there at Star Labs, and she walks in the door with him, so I have no idea when he would have been alone. I guess he goes so fast that time freezes so that he can do this without her noticing he's done it. But there's a lot of steps along the way, because he wrote this song. He clearly rehearsed this song. He made music for this song. He recorded the music for the song to be on his phone to be readily played. And that's just a lot of steps that don't really make sense in happening in the walk from Star Labs to their apartment. So I'm going to be actively nitpicky about that, because we're back in the real world and he had no time for that. I get that he can more or less freeze time to do things, but at least she would feel a whoosh and be like, Barry, why did you just run somewhere or do something? Because it's not like he could even just I've written up lyrics and I'm going to sing it a cappella. No, he had to actually get multiple musical instruments and record this, and so I'm calling BS on him being able to create that in the real world. But whatever, it's a good song. It's sweet. I like it. Going to the episode as a whole, I like this more every time I watch it. I can't even... There's so many dumb little things. I feel like when you're watching it, it does feel like it's a little too quick for them to resolve their relationship issues. They have real issues. These weren't really silly things. I mean, I know Iris is gonna die. I can't cope with that. And I know that my boyfriend, Monel, has been lying to me for 9 months about being a part of the ruling class of a actively imperialist, slave-owning society. He told me he was one of the slaves, but it turns out he was a prince who selfishly took the last pod to escape his planet. These are real issues, and I don't actually love that the musical episode resolved it. I want it to push it forward. I like that it gave them these messages, but they don't really seem to struggle with these really big issues ever again. So I'm actually going to say, for once, I don't like that the musical episode solved all of their problems. Bringing things out into the open is great, but it doesn't, like they said, in a movie musical, things get cleared up really easily. And although musicals can definitely bring things into the open so they can be worked out, I don't think they solve the problems that easily. And so that's kind of my big critique. I think it's too impactful on the plot. which is completely contrary to basically everything I'll say for any other movie musical, or TV musical episode, sorry. I think it makes it a little too easy. But all that said, I really enjoyed the episode. Thank you guys for watching with me. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And make sure to check out my podcast to see my organized list of commentary and my ratings on it. We'll see how this stacks up against Buffy. For next episode, so in 2 weeks, I'll post another YouTube video. That is going to be for Batman the Brave and the Bold, which also has a Music Meister episode. So we'll see how kind of the early version compares to the more recent version and see how the characters played differently, how it all plays out. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. So again, I'll catch you next time. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to check out the podcast, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!